Hello everyone, welcome to today's session on Back to Business using telematics in the new environment. For those of you who may not be familiar with Fleet Complete, we are a leading global provider of connected vehicle technology, or in other words, we provide visibility and control over all your assets and mobile workers on one single interface. We service approximately 600,000 subscribers globally, which comprises of about 40,000 businesses and government organisations across countries such as Canada, the US, Mexico, Australia, and a bunch of Europe. Our local Australian team is based out of Adelaide with staff. We've got sales staff in all major capital cities. My name is Michael Seychelles. I'm the VP of Sales for Australia for Fleet Complete. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by two other panellists, Kat Beaudoin and Sam Tranderfield. Kat, I'll get you to introduce yourself first.
Hi, everyone. Again, thanks a lot, Michael. My name is Kat Beaudoin. I am a technical channel manager here at Fleet Complete. I just recently celebrated my 8 years with the company, as a matter of fact. My first 4 years, I was a trainer on the team, consulting with our clients about their needs and making sure that the system was set up accordingly and educating our clients on our solution. Today, I help our sales team understand the more complex needs of our clients and help them ensure that the solutions that we're proposing truly do meet their needs. I'm very happy to be here today with you as well. Sam, how about you?
Thanks, Kat. So hi, everybody. My name's Sam Tranderfield, and I'm the version of Kat in Australia. So we're globally represented, our technical channel sales team. So as Kat mentioned, we're here to assist our sales team and our customers with coming up with some of those not so quite out of the box solutions. And again, ensuring that that solution really fits the purpose. I've been with the company nearly 8 years and very similar background to Kat, started in training and before that was even in operations and prior to that reception. So I've seen all sides of the business and I'm really excited to be able to share my experience and knowledge with you here today.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Kat. So just before we kick off into the presentation, just a couple of housekeeping items. So this session is being recorded and we will share the recording via email with all attendees after the session. Currently, everyone's going to be on mute, but that's not to say we're not inviting questions. So you'll find a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So if you have a question during the presentation, please type it straight in and we will get to answer it at the end of the session. So without further ado, we'll get into the presentation. First off, we're going to start off with the agenda. Sam will discuss how business is changing to operate in the new normal. Then I will talk to you around the transportation trends we are seeing in the industry globally. Kat will then explain how different solutions within the telematics portfolio can help you transform and win in today's challenging environment. And lastly, we'll talk around some special offers and we'll have an opportunity for Q&A. So now I'd like to pass off to Sam to provide insights on how business is changing to operate in the new normal.
So we've been seeing some really great examples of how customers are adapting to this changing environment. And dare I use the COVID word, but you know, it's very relevant. Now, they're also seeing that after the initial shock of having to change their business, they're seeing some benefits that they could get in everyday use when things do go back to normal. So we're seeing obviously health and safety standards are, you know, quite a high requirement and they're able to implement these standards and check that things are being adhered to with using our platform as well. I always say that visibility is the key to getting the information that you need out of this platform. So what you can't see, you don't know. And there's no need to have to call drivers. You're able to log in, have complete visibility, and then of course accountability of the activity that your drivers are taking. Now, as I mentioned before, we're really seeing customers adapt to these changing times very easily, which is just great to see. And they're seeing that it's quite an easy transition to just basically put a device in a vehicle, then have the basics out of the platform, gives them that insight. But then by using the training and consulting project management method we have here, we're able to really hone in on those specific business challenges and give the customers a win, as we said. Now, straight away, once you start having that visibility and accountability, you'll notice all the other benefits. So we're able to, really focus on how we can cut costs in the industry for those customers through that driving behaviour. And then, of course, you're protecting your assets from theft. So that's always going to be something that's relevant.
Great. Thank you, Sam. So next, I'll just talk about around some industry trends, the things that we have identified and seen within our own portfolio and our own databases around how the vehicles we have on our system, how they're interacting at the moment in this current environment. So firstly, I want to just talk about kilometres driven and the change that we've seen since around early March. So we've seen that within March and April, overall kilometres driven on our portfolio has dropped by 15 to 20%. Now, as we know, kilometres driven is a direct correlation with the amount of jobs that a business is doing, how many loads carried, how many job sites visited. And that's a reflection also on those businesses' revenue. Since that time, so since towards the end of April and early May, we have started to see that slowly pick up again. And now we're up to about almost 5% of what customers were previously driving before the pandemic hit in around late February. One factor of reducing kilometres driven is that companies have less vehicles on the road, and thus improving efficiency of the vehicles they do have on the road is much more important. Less driving means companies are looking for their drivers to be as efficient as possible, including taking the most direct route, utilising notifications through POIs to eliminate multiple phone calls and sending the closest vehicle to the job. Next, I just want to talk about driver safety and vehicle maintenance. Along the same lines as efficiencies in kilometres driven, companies are focusing on driver safety and vehicle maintenance. Monitoring driver behaviour such as speeding, idling and harsh driving will help identify areas of improvement for drivers, as well as result in reduced fuel usage and decrease on wear and tear on these vehicles. By integrating a telematics solution with your back-end maintenance software, it is much easier to proactively stay on top of preventative maintenance activities and reduce vehicle breakdowns and downtime. Now more than ever, preventable breakdowns are extremely costly to a company's bottom line. New pressure points, the first and the last mile of delivery. Our current environment has created new pressure on the first mile, which is getting goods to the distribution centres, and the last mile, which is getting goods into home deliveries, for example. We are seeing increased use of electronic forms integrated into companies' back-end software. This improves efficiencies and often acts as a no-touch method of delivery, using pictures in conjunction with time and geostamps for proof of delivery. Whether it is a vehicle in a long line at a food processing facility, such as a canning factory or a home delivery service, the quicker you are able to pick up or deliver your goods, the more productive you can be and the more customers you can transact with during a day. If you can accomplish this with limited human interaction, this will also improve your health and safety for your own employees and drivers. So business and customer acquisition. What we're also seeing is within our customer base is the consolidation as some companies either acquire other businesses as they grow or buy their competitors who may have gone out of business. We see these clients quickly implementing telematics in the vehicle they have acquired and are able to manage them more efficiently. Next is asset management and theft prevention. We're seeing a large uptick in companies managing and tracking the location of non-powered assets, things like generators, for example. This improves their efficiencies in finding these assets quickly when they're needed and also to manage them against theft. Kat will give us more examples specifically on this during her section. And lastly, remote working. As many offices are either closed or part shut down, and companies are trying to limit the number of employees coming in and out of their offices, we are seeing a large trend in adding telematics to company vehicles that are now based out of the home of the employee. This allows the company to easily manage a report on vehicle use and prevent a multitude of possible costs due to misuse. Also, adding the use of handheld software technology allows for time tracking to identify when the employee is working and when they are at different jobs. As the new paradigm of working remotely grows, the importance of properly collecting payroll data does as well. As a summary, we are seeing more interest and activity in these areas discussed above, and we are also witnessing customers who have, prior to the pandemic, already implemented some of these technologies who have rebounded quickly out of this situation. Many continue to operate not as previously, but in the new paradigm with little or no effect of their staffing. Now I'm going to hand over to Kat, who's going to walk us through a few examples of how clients are leveraging telematics to increase their competitive advantage. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Michael and Sam, for sharing those excellent insights. There are 4 main points I'll touch on before jumping into a quick look at Fleet Complete via Sam. So I'll be talking about vehicle and resource tracking, asset tracking, safety protocols, and going paperless. Now, Sam alluded to this a little bit at the beginning as well. As companies consider their path forward and they continue to adapt, one of the most powerful decision-making tools will be information. The information that's captured through telematics is providing organizations with a broader picture of the utilization of some of those things that are vital to moving their organization forward: their fleet, their equipment, their non-powered assets, and their mobile workforce. Providing real insight into their operations that allows them to make smarter business decisions, it's how we've been helping our clients for years. The first and most obvious way to empower your business is through the tracking of your fleet and your mobile workforce. As Michael touched on earlier as well, people are reevaluating their fleet needs. They're looking more closely at what their fleet is doing and looking for ways to do more with them. In the past, trusting employees to relay accurate updates on the status of their work and their whereabouts, taking extended breaks, or allowing them to spend a few extra minutes on a job site than necessary, these things weren't necessarily as detrimental to the bottom line, and companies could afford to be more complacent. That's no longer the case when trying to stay competitive in a market where demands may have shifted and aren't being met by the old way of doing things. With a telematics solution like ours, fleet manager or business owners, they're validating in an online portal or on an app on their phone or tablets that every employee is where they need to be. Our clients in the service industry, trades, delivery, transportation clients, they're relying on our solution to make better dispatching and route planning decisions every day. In lieu of relying on their employees to relay information that they have finished a job and are ready to move on to the next, or of hoping that their fleet is on the road doing what it should be, companies are relying more on automated alerts driven by customized rules to inform them of activities that they can address sooner. Customers are happier, a few more jobs can be completed in a day, activities being recorded more accurately for client billing or payroll, and best of all, it comes with the peace of mind of being in the know. Simply being profitable isn't enough for many businesses. I'm hearing more often the need to keep operating costs low and maximizing the investment in a fleet. One of the more obvious benefits of tracking is, of course, reduction of the impact of theft. Retrieving just a single stolen vehicle by having it tracked makes a tremendous impact, helping to keep your insurance costs down and gets that vehicle back on the road sooner. There are, however, some less obvious impacts that keep costs lower. It's easy to underestimate the impact that driving behavior has on a fleet and on the wallet. For example, speeding costs. Besides being a safety concern with the added risk of a hefty fine or an infraction, and the negative public perception of seeing a truck with your logo pulled over by the police on the side of the road, fuel efficiency also diminishes significantly with excessive speed. We also all know that idling is bad and it burns fuel, but I don't know that we all have an idea of just how bad. As an example, for the average vehicle with a 3-liter engine, about 0.5 liters of fuel is actually burned in just 10 minutes of idling. So do you know as a business owner how much time your vehicles spend running unnecessarily? Imagine a few liters of fuel wasted daily times a fleet of 10 or 20. It really does add up. And with fuel being one of the biggest expenses related to owning a fleet, we strive to give our clients every opportunity to save on those costs. A prime example of a company who had to adapt and change the way they operated is a local family restaurant that we deal with. They already had one company vehicle. They were using it for local deliveries, but with the situation that happened with COVID, this kind of changed the way they were doing business, and the volume increased. And they had to shift to a primarily takeout model as opposed to having most of their clients come in and dine. So they were experiencing really high costs for using third-party food delivery services. So what they decided to do is actually add a few more vehicles that belong to employees and start doing more local delivery for themselves. And they implemented vehicle tracking along with a resource tracking app to be able to send them the orders and the locations and keep track of those orders. The results for this company was that they were able to repurpose their own staff with their own vehicles to do the deliveries and save on the costs with the third-party providers. They used the maintenance portion to get reminders for their own vehicles. They managed to dispatch those orders and have visibility of those orders via the tablets. And for safety, obviously this is really important, they were able to maintain a visual of their employees while they were on delivery to understand where they went, and if there was an issue on the road, they were able to keep track of them. This not only reduced delivery costs significantly, but now those tips and the delivery tips, they were able to be given to restaurant employees rather than being paid out to a third-party service. Although we tend to think of vehicles first, they aren't the only thing out there in the field that can benefit from tracking. The combination of job sites being left unattended for longer periods of time, more people working from home, and thieves becoming, frankly, more desperate, it's caused a high rise in the valuable items being stolen. I've been hearing from a lot of our clients lately that things like generators are going missing from job sites. If expensive tools are disappearing, and it seems like it's a trend because one of the statistics that I actually came across indicated that about 69% of equipment and cargo is actually stolen directly from a job site. Now, I'm sure this applies as much yesterday as it does in today's particularly challenging times, but any additional cost or headache that can be avoided is, of course, a blessing. With our small asset trackers that run on the LTEM network, our clients have been retrieving stolen items faster and more often. Trackers are being put on everything from trailers, landscaping equipment, generators, even in toolboxes to make sure that nothing's left behind. In many cases, the reason companies have decided to use an asset tracker isn't even about the value of the asset itself, but the efficiency that's gained in knowing where it is, and that's what makes it worthwhile. One of our paving companies, as a matter of fact, is a great example of the positive impact of telematics on their business. When we were introduced, they were actually experiencing an increase in generators being stolen from various sites of theirs. They also had generators sitting on sites that were being serviced prematurely or too late because they needed employees to manually check the operating hours on them. They also had rollers and other heavy equipment, and they just couldn't tell, either where they were, how long they had been used, and if they were really effective or efficient at the site they were. They were actually sitting longer than necessary, and they could have been used elsewhere. So with the 30 fleet trackers and the asset trackers that they implemented, they were able to not only reduce the insurance premiums on the equipment by minimizing theft, they were also able to repurpose underutilized assets and send them to other jobs, helping them make more money and get more money out of those assets, and obviously reduced capital expenses by recovering stolen assets as well. Now, I've been talking a lot about saving money and cutting costs, but there are some things you just can't put a price on. The most important asset is the one behind the wheel, and corporate safety initiatives can be run by using telematics-driven data. The impact of improved driving behavior includes less accidents, less injuries, reduced wear and tear on the fleet, lower insurance costs, and a positive representation of your brand out there on the roads. There's also been a significant change in protocols required to ensure safety when it comes to sanitization and limiting physical contact with surfaces and between people. People have so much on their minds, and many of these processes are so new that missing a step or two is a big possibility. Our clients are using digitized inspection forms and are customizable, and that are customizable to their unique needs and procedures, and this is helping them ensure that every important step is adhered to. The inspections are being tailored to include processes as well that happen outside of the vehicle, so inside a factory, warehouse, or an office. And amid growing safety concerns, having these processes and tools in place makes them and could help make your organization a safer choice among concerned customers. Furthermore, you, like many of our existing clients, may not be operating at full capacity all the time. Priorities may have shifted away from your fleet repairs and regular maintenance to handling other more glaringly important priorities. Vehicle maintenance is essential to road safety. Besides defensive driving, it's one of the best ways to avoid a car accident. It's actually to carry out regular maintenance. This prevents breakdowns, malfunctions, or catastrophic system failure to your vehicle. The aim is to reduce the avoidable risk, and our built-in maintenance portal with reminders based on time, distance, and operating hours helps to keep everyone on track and safe. Because we're plugging into the ECM port, most units are also giving us engine data that can help better plan repairs or identify the source of wear and tear. Since every penny counts when running a business, our clients are doing everything they can to maximize productivity and minimize things like time theft, whether it's intentional or not. The cost of leaving this unchecked is not only simply the extra wages that are paid for unproductive hours. I've helped many clients who had resources spending precious hours out of their work week trying to reconcile the hours that were being manually input by their employees, or dealing with billing disputes when the invoice submitted didn't match the actual time that the employee spent on site. With less people clocking in at the office, a blind spot can develop for those running their business. As a matter of fact, according to a poll conducted by Robert Half International, employers lose on average 4.5 hours a week per employee due to time theft, whether this is intentional or otherwise. So I guess those few minutes here and there really do add up fast. One of the easiest ways to avoid this blind spot and minimize time theft is by using an app-based time card. Our clients today are using our electronic apps to validate the working hours, and they export that data out if they need to use it in an accounting software. The GPS location and automatic timestamps help to validate that the work has started and ended where it should. For service industry clients where the employees may not be using their own vehicles, or for those outsourcing work to someone else, an app-based solution allows businesses to dispatch a task to just about anyone and maintain visibility of an individual while the work is being performed without the need to put a unit in the vehicle. In addition, we're seeing more and more clients move away from paper processes where the accuracy is reliant on an individual and the risk of human error is higher. Digitizing all kinds of forms is helping businesses provide a better service to their own customers, and it's cutting down on manual processing time and allowing them to really allocate that time to more profitable activities. A perfect example of this can be found in a property management company that we work with. They have a small fleet of their own, 3 vehicles that they use for maintenance, 3 maintenance vans that they use to service the properties, and about 10 employees using their own vehicles for the property management tasks. Now, they were having some issues with coping with working out of the office, so more people working from home. They didn't have the visibility of their employees. They were also dealing with inspections, having many paper processes when it came to repair forms and other forms out in the workplace. They also, for safety purposes, really needed a way to track employee site visits. And so they had a little bit more accountability. By implementing fleet trackers, resource tracking, and digitizing forms, they've managed to gain a great visibility of the maintenance and property managers. They've gotten better reporting around arrival and departures from the properties, and they even implemented a new post-showing sanitization checklist. Now I'll pass it on to Sam to do a quick demo of Fleet Complete and talk more about how Fleet Complete can help benefit your business.
Thanks, Kat. So what I'm hoping to demonstrate when I go into the platform is a lot of the examples that Kat has just used, and also to show you how we can do the following. So it's setting up protocols for the pre and post trip vehicle inspections. We're able to configure this not only around the vehicle health, but also to align with the health and safety challenges that we're dealing with in this climate. We'll also be able to demonstrate how we manage those resources remotely. So our resources are our people on the road, not just the vehicles, how we're looking after their well-being as well. And I'll also give you some great examples of how we can cut those unnecessary costs and get more out of your vehicles and the health of your vehicles. Here's a wonderful example of a local business that is really adapted to the current environment. We've been able to empower Wills and Daniel by moving to that more contactless delivery method that we have been talking about throughout this presentation. So Wills and Daniel initially have been a wholesale business that delivered to restaurants and catering companies, and they have used this climate to really improve and expand their business. So they're able to make deliveries to their customers without having that physical contact. They're also able to provide real life estimates of arrival with the time, just through that visibility of the system. We're really happy to be able to offer this to Wills and Daniel to help them to empower their business, to grow their business, and to keep functioning as per normal in this challenging time.
As we've mentioned throughout, simply being able to view your fleet's location is very powerful insight. This gives you visibility of functions such as location, status, whether the vehicle is driving or parked or simply not available, the last time that it actually updated, and also gives us insight into valuable items such as the vehicle health and diagnostics. Also, it enables you instant location, activity, and behavioural data. So let's demonstrate this. As you'll see, I have all my vehicles here on the map on the right-hand side, and I'm able to simply just click on those vehicles and actually go straight to them. From the tracking screen here, I may be able to see details such as driver ID, the direction that the vehicle is travelling in, and also the speed. You'll see below here, we've got valuable things like the asset status, the last time it updated, and the type of hardware that we're using. And below, this is some of that engine data I mentioned before and diagnostics. We can drill down even further, and there's some really handy functions like being able to see vehicles that are nearby to this specific asset. It shows us exactly how far away they are and what their current status is as well. Now let's go back. I'm going to pick another vehicle that's had a little bit more activity today. And this one is also demonstrating the function of driver ID. Unfortunately, not driving again, so we can't demonstrate that. But let's have a look at the trip replay, which gives us really detailed historic trip data. By default, this will upload for the last 24 hours, but we can go back up to 12 months. You'll see a summary of the day's trips or the period of trips, the distance travelled, which is great for utilisation, fuel economy if it is being read by that vehicle, and the percentage of idling. There's also some really critical things that can be highlighted and also alerted to you, such as if a crash is detected, as well as speeding and harsh driving events such as cornering, also harsh braking and acceleration. Below this, you'll see a breakdown of each ignition on, ignition off event or trip. And it also gives us a summary of that also below here. Now let's have a look at a trip on a map. So on the map on the right-hand side, we can see some green poles or positions, and this is when the device has logged a position. It's telling us the activity, the time and date, the location, and also the speed the vehicle was travelling against the actual posted road speed. All of these green dots just indicate a position. But then if we see below here, we've got an orange triangle, and this is showing me a speeding event. And it gives us the same detail as before, including the speed against the posted road speed. We're not limited to these events though. There are multiple rules that we can implement into your database depending on your needs. So if we just have a really quick look at the list of rules here, you'll be able to see that we can implement things like seatbelt from a safety perspective. We can also look a bit more in detail at those harsh driving events and monitor things also like outside of work hours usage. As you can see, there's so many things that we can tap into. Included is also the use of points of interest, otherwise known as geofences and zones. These are a way we can create a virtual fence around an area of interest to monitor activity. This gives us the ability to monitor things like time spent in certain areas or speed or just any sort of behaviour really. We can also look after your maintenance needs with our maintenance portal. This provides us the ability to schedule any sort of maintenance events or scheduled events, whether it be by kilometres, engine hours or time. So we can set up those repeated scheduled events such as the 10,000k scheduled service, and once that service is completed, we can then keep calculating until the next 10,000k service. And then we can keep all of this history all in the one platform where the rest of our vehicle data is. To complement this, we have the reporting portal with 16 default reports available to all customers. This portal allows us to pull reports based on vehicle group, or the entire database. And we can also schedule any of those reports to appear directly into your inbox, say on a Monday morning or on a Friday afternoon, whatever you prefer. You can even choose what time you want to see these things come through. We can also exclude things like work hours, so we can monitor our fleets 24/7 during work hours or outside of work hours. And all reports can be generated into an Excel format where they can be configured. The customizable reporting format also allows us to add a custom view where we can remove any unnecessary columns or change the order of them. So I think that's really all I've got to offer today in a quick high-level demo. We'd love to show you more, and I'll hand you back over to the team. Thank you.
So thanks, Sam, for that fantastic demonstration on the Fleet Complete software. Before we get into some Q&A, I just wanted to talk briefly about some special offers we have for customers that sign up as a result of today's webinar. So we're offering 6 months free on our entire app portfolio. So the 3 apps that we have in our FC Web software is the FBT Electronic Logbook, the Task Tracker app, and the Inspect app. So the FBT Electronic Logbook allows drivers to differentiate between personal and business trips in order for them to support their FBT logbook claims at the end of the financial year. The Task Tracker app allows businesses the ability to send out jobs to specific drivers. And the Inspect app is a pre-start checklist that drivers inspect their vehicles before stepping into the vehicle for the day. So we're offering 6 months free on that entire portfolio for all customers who sign up as a result of today's webinar. So now we'll just kick into some Q&A, and we'll go to the question line.
Okay, guys. So we've got a few questions that have come through. Might hand the first one off to Sam. I'll read it out for you, Sam. In my industry, we idle while doing our deliveries. Do you have other clients who do the same, and how are they reducing idling? Are you there, Sam? All right, I might just jump in with this one. So, yes, obviously many businesses do remain idling, but what we can do is by using things like POIs, we can actually determine if these idling events are actually on as a result of the job itself, or if they're just because someone's having lunch at the golf course with the air conditioning running. So by using some of the in-depth solutions within the system, we can actually identify which idling is actually legitimate and which idling is actually not.
Thanks, Michael. I hope you can hear me now.
That one, Sam?
Hi, sorry, the Zoom meeting froze. Can you hear me now?
Yep, all good.
Excellent. There's actually another one that I can see, Michael, a great question. We've been holding off on getting telematics because there's some reluctancy from our drivers. Do we have any advice on getting them on board? So again, from my experience here, this is something that does come up occasionally, but I do think there is a lot more acceptance around telematics these days. We've helped a lot of customers sort of introduce this in a very transparent way to the organisation. I know myself, I have provided demonstrations to parts of the organisation to explain how it's being set up and to also show functions like I demonstrated before, how you can exclude private hours when you're reporting and things like that. And really it comes down to if those vehicles are company vehicles, for example, you really want to know, even outside of work hours, if they're allowed to drive those vehicles. If there is an accident, you're able to, potentially save their lives. But also, what if a vehicle is damaged or stolen? You're able to also retrieve those vehicles if that happens. So yes, it does happen, but we can definitely give you some advice and help you introduce it into your organisation.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Sam. Probably another one is just to protect the drivers who are doing the right thing. So, if a customer's pushing back on the plumber because he said you didn't turn up until 10 o'clock, well, actually, I've got proof to say I was there at 8:30 and no one was home. So for the drivers in your fleets that are doing the right thing, it actually does protect them because there's database decisions and database sort of evidence on anything that gets challenged. So it should, in fact, the drivers that are doing the right thing, it really should help them.
And that's exactly right. And we actually get some customers that sort of use that data to just encourage that good performance as well. And the drivers like a bit of competition there.
Next question, how long does your asset tracker's battery last? Going to grab that one, Sam?
Sure. So our solar-powered trackers are capable of taking between 2,000 and 2,600 snapshots on a single charge, which is quite impressive. Also, the settings are quite configurable, so you can set things to only track on motion, or to track, every few hours, just to give you a poll. So again, the configuration will definitely affect that. And, just to make sure that you don't have an issue with pricing, not knowing how, low that battery is if something's out of sight, on a distant sort of, location, you can actually receive a notification of any low battery. So you have enough time to, retrieve that device and change batteries if you're using a battery tracker.
Thanks, Sam. There's a question here from Anna about pricing. So, look, probably best to go to your regional sales managers in each state for specific pricing, but just high level, we have two forms of financial structures for customers. One is purchasing hardware up front. Our main tracking hardware is around $300, just over, and then the monthly software fee is approximately $30 a month, but there are some volume discounts there. Or customers can go on bundles, which start at around the $39 to $40 mark per month. So, but if any specifics around pricing, please go to your regional sales managers who can take you through that in much more detail. Is there any more questions? Last question I've got on the line. Any late questions? Looks like we're done. Okay, so that's it for today. We'll give you some time back in your day. Thanks everyone for joining. We had a great group of participants today, which is good. We will, as we said earlier, we will circulate this recording. So if there's any other people in your teams or in your businesses that would take advantage of going through this, then we'll have that recording available for you soon. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks to the panel, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Thanks very much.